Hey, I'm Molly Sims.
And I'm Emese Gormley. We're two girls obsessed with one thing, beauty.
And by that, we mean everything that makes you look
And feel
beautiful.
We're calling on our favorite health experts, industry insiders, and friends to answer all your beauty questions.
With a drink in hand.
Definitely with a drink in hand.
You're listening to Lipstick on the Rim with Molly Sims. Do you hear it? I mean, this episode is about to be pretty spiritual in the most cosmic way yet.
I mean, I'm actually ready to channel my highest self and finally figure out what the universe's signs really actually mean.
Tuning in to your intuition. You guys, we're so excited about today's guest. You know, we love a psychic. We love a medium. We love that energy. But most importantly, we always follow our gut. And we are so excited to have you here. She is the medium mentor, MaryAnn DiMarco. Today, she's letting us in on how to follow those signs, strengthen your intuition, tap into our own medium abilities, and decode the messages from the universe that sometimes those signs are giving you that you're not really listening to. Mm-hmm. But most importantly, to uncover our purpose and navigate our life path. MaryAnn, we're excited.
Good. Thanks for having me.
This book, congrats on everything.
Thank you.
You know, we love a 5, a 10 powerful techniques to awaken divine guidance. Mm-hmm. All right, let's start. Just really plain and simple. What is the difference between a medium and what is the difference between a psychic?
That's a great question. The difference between a medium and the difference between a psychic medium is that mediums are people who connect with loved ones on the other side. And we can also be psychics, moving from a mediumship vibration, which is kind of up here, coming down to psychic vibration, which is here. So we could tell you about your life, tell you what's going on, maybe get a little prophetic, but I can also talk to your loved one on the other side. Psychics don't normally do that. Psychics usually just stay in this zone here.
Stay in their lane.
Right. And they're not necessarily knowing where that information is coming from.
How did you first realize you had these abilities? Because it's
an ability.
It's an ability. It's a gift. It's also possibly maybe a curse, but it's a gift. And how did you figure it out? And then how did you start to trust it?
I have been hearing and seeing spirits since I was about 5 years old. And I had the honor of growing up with a mom who was really into this. So to me, it was normal. I just thought it was normal for me to walk around hearing energy, knowing things.
What did that sound like?
Yeah,
it sounded like, actually, I actually want to say it really felt more like there was presence next to me. I would have incredibly vivid dreams about loved ones that had passed. I knew things. I just knew things were going to happen. And I would tune into that kind of haphazardly, really. I didn't have a lot of control over it growing up. And my mom she didn't even overly encourage it. She just accepted it as normal, which it really is. I didn't think it was. I thought it was just odd and I wanted to be normal and not do any of that type of stuff. And then as I got older, I started to learn about it more. And it wasn't until I was in my 30s that I went through a very rough time in my life. I got divorced. I had a passing that left me in a lot of grief. I had 2 little children that I was raising, and I wanted to go to a psychic. So I wound up in the hands of this woman named Pat Longo. She has since passed. And she was actually a spiritual teacher. And I said to her, am I coming to you for a psychic reading? Should I bring pictures? And she said, I'm not a psychic. I'm a healer. And I just automatically said to her, I think I'm supposed to see you now. And I started taking her classes. And within just a couple of weeks, I finally understood what all this chatter was sounding like, these random words, random thoughts, and how to place them and who to give them to.
Who was the first person that you channeled? Can you remember?
I probably would say my grandmother. My maternal grandmother used to come to me so clear in my dreams. And I would recognize the fact that she's passed in the dream. And then I would come to the realization that I was having a visit with her, which is how our loved ones come in very often, to visit with those very vivid, lucid dreams. And I realized that when I woke up, I would say to my mom, hey, I had a dream about grandma last night. And she would say, was she in a black dress? And I'd say, yeah. And then she had the same dream. So we would
So you
often
think
have the
it's
same dream.
definitely not genetic per se, but something in your family.
That part I think could be. Do I think we're all psychic? Absolutely.
You do?
Oh, yes. Wait till you read the next book. Yes, we are all psychic. Every single one of us can tap into our intuitive abilities. And that's why I started to lean out of doing traditional readings and coming into teaching, because I felt this strong calling to empower other people to say, you can do this. This is something that we were all born with, that you don't need a person like myself to be your magic 8-ball, that you can tap in anytime you want to our spirit guides who are igniting our higher self, the inner voice within us, and navigate through your life. And you can certainly connect with your loved ones anytime you want, through meditation, through just talking to them. And my own loved ones on the other side taught me that. And I thought to myself, I don't want to just do this in a way that gives the ability only to self. And so that's why I felt really strong to start teaching it to other people, because I thought, this is so cool how I can feel like I can make connection, and I want other people to learn how they can do it.
Do you believe in deja vu? Because I have that feeling so often in life. I mean,
Yeah.
I would say I have a feeling of deja vu probably like 2 or 3 times a month, where I'm like, to the point where I'm like, I've been in this moment before, or I feel like it just, is that, explain that. Because I feel like we use that term so frequently and people use it. Is that a sense of having not a psychic ability, but
I believe it's part of our psychic senses. I do. I think that there are, what I know to be true is that your soul has come here knowing what you have intended to do in this life. And I wonder sometimes about deja vu, if they are glimpses of that reminder, reminding you, you know why you're here. You know what's taking place around you. You've signed up for these lessons, as it were. And how those lessons come into fruition, I think, are at the good grace of the universe. Because honestly, I don't know who would come back. I certainly wouldn't. Like, I'm not signing up to go through that nonsense. But I think lessons like fear and doubt and who we meet in life and these little nuances, like deja vu. Yeah, I think that absolutely has something to do with the universe winking at us saying, you can do this.
How do you differentiate between intuition, imagination, and communication with the spirits?
I use it all. I think that they're all tools to tap into that knowing, and that the claircognizance is the most strongest clairs, clairvoyancy we hear, clairaudience. But I think just that knowing, that gut instinct, using your imagination is part of it, because spirits coming in and they're using your frame of reference. They're coming in and they're tapping to all of your experiences in life, and they're igniting those memories and those feelings to get to communicate with you. That's how I read. When I'm reading somebody, I'm looking at parts of their life, and they might be very similar to my own. So I might start speaking about my own life experiences and hoping that it resonates with my sitter. And so I think they use all of that together.
are there specific methods or techniques that one can have? So say you think, oh, I have my gut instinct is usually spot on. Is there something you would say to those types of people, like how to hone in on that skill so that they can start to develop it further?
Yes.
And also a second follow-up is how to hone in on that gut.
The first thing that you have to do, and I tell all of my students this, is trust in your belief system. Let's just get there first. Let's just trust that, let's say for argument's sake today, you believe that you have psychic and intuitive abilities. Right?
Okay.
Let's just trust it. Let's just we'll put the ego out the door, because the ego comes in and says, you don't do that. MaryAnn does that. You don't do that. Right? But we all do it. So let's just say for argument's sake, that's
I'm
a
your
truth.
psychic today.
Yes, you're all psychic. And that's your truth today. So that belief system is very powerful, because what it does, it starts to shift your perception. And when we shift our perception, we start to move into spaces of believing, yes. And then that validation comes in so much more clear. So that's the first thing I would do. The second thing I would do is start to develop a spiritual practice that is very authentic to who you are. If you love to meditate, go for it. If meditating's not your jam, take a walk, listen to music. If that's not your thing and sitting by the beach and chilling out is your thing to get your peace within you, great. If you like to be in nature and feel the sun on your face and hear the sounds of water around you, and that's going to ignite something that feels peaceful within self so that you can hear energy, do that. But do it consistently and do it authentically. And people like often say to me, what do you do? You know, how do you do it? And I always say, well, I can show you how I do it, but I don't want your practice to look like mine, because that might be a lot of work for somebody else. And I think that we need to make sure that we're leaning into the most authentic parts of ourselves so that it doesn't feel like such hard work.
Because I think it's all different for every different.
Yes.
It's very, your quiet place, quiet place is very different than mine. What I call like where I can like think, really think.
Yeah. And to me, it's like, I'm not a person who's sort of sitting around calling in the spirits. And, you might think that I am. And like we were saying before we got on today, I'm certainly not all love and light all the time. I mean, I have my moments. I write about it in the book. Trust me when I tell you. And I had to learn that I actually had to give myself permission to say that's okay, that we can move through all these parts and still be really, really spiritual and make it look like whatever we want it to look like.
Like, I know what you're going to ask. Good.
We're psychic.
See? You're already tapping into each other.
Can you feel anyone in this room right now?
Oh, like as a medium? You want me to? If I do, I will certainly let you know. I can tell you that Molly has a female who stands next to her quite often. And I feel like it's on mom's side of the family. So either mom's mom or mom, but she comes in very strong. And there's definitely a male who stands next to you on father's side of the family. And do you want me to read you? Are you okay with that? Yeah, see, but it's a lot, and it's emotional. And you have to let me know if you're ready for that. But you're okay? Okay, good. And he's talking about a lot of move and change going on around you. And he's saying that your strongest gift is creating foundation in home. And that wherever you go, not to worry, because you know how to make that foundation strong. And he doesn't want you worrying about that. There's also somebody talking about something that went on in the heart or chest area as well. And they're saying like, I just want to know I could take a deep breath again.
He had a heart attack.
Okay. Okay. And he's saying it's all okay. It's all okay. Yeah. And grief, Molly, you're in the middle of grief, right? And so grief is really hard. And it's sometimes hard for our loved ones to penetrate through that vibration. I know when we need them most, right? We want to hear them most. So just be patient. But this, both of those presents, I actually feel the warmth of their bodies, soul bodies, I guess, next to me. So I want you to lean into that tool. Don't struggle to hear them. And
I'm always trying to fight a sign or.
Yeah.
I do the same.
Instead, feel their presence next to you. We have to pay attention to all the senses when we're connecting with spirit. And a lot of people get hung up on what we can see or what we can hear, right? Yeah, and that's natural. We want to see our loved ones and we want to hear them. But I started out a lot too feeling them. I just felt like someone was in the room with me. And if you get a memory that pops into your head out of nowhere, that's a great sign. That's them saying, think of me. I'm right here with you now. That's when you can go into dialogue with them. And you know what your loved ones sound like. So allow that imagination, which is really them helping you anyway, to come into fruition and allow that to be part of the tool that you're using in order to make that connection. This particular loved one, I would love to sit by the water with them and just have a conversation on I don't know, I feel like I'm sitting on a bench or like Adirondack chairs or something like this. And you can create those spaces in your mind. In my second book, Medium Mentor, I do a meditation called Meeting Hours in Heaven. And I think it's a great way to make connection with your loved ones, that you yourself can sit there, create a scene that's so familiar to you and your loved one, and invite your loved one to come and sit down. This helps with the seeing. This helps with that third eye. It's just like a muscle.
It's a muscle.
Yeah. And so you just have to trust it like anything else and start to use it in a way that will help you not only make connection, but find really beautiful spaces of healing. Because our loved ones are fine on the other side. It's just us who have to deal with all the worldly nonsense. They get to release it all. I know, and it sucks. I always argue with them. I'm like, that's forgiveness and I'm okay. That's easy for them to say, but we're dealing with all of the worldly stuff. But doing this work for as long as I have, one thing I know that I will never veer away from is that they are perfectly fine on that other side. And that there is something going on over there that's quite beautiful. that we might not have like a full understanding of, but they're not carrying worldly woes any longer.
Do you see anyone on my side or no?
There's a female that stands on mom's side of the family, for sure. Talking about the month of August as being significant. So a birthday or an anniversary, you understand that? Mm-hmm. And she's very motherly around you. She actually just fixed your hair. I don't know if you just changed hairdressers or like you were thinking about changing your hair, but she's pulling it back. She's loving your earring choices today as well. And she's talking about not feeling like the rug's been pulled out from under you. And it's been a weird last 2 or 3 years for you. And she says for the next, what I'm seeing now, she's like, I just want her to know she can breathe and feel calm. She loves the number 3 around you. So I don't know if you're a family of 3 or you have 3 children, but she is talking about the number 3 as being very important. And she says because it's all about balance. And she says she needs to feel balanced. She likes the balance. You're also doing some philanthropic work or stepping into some philanthropic work coming forward, and feels very community driven too. And your guides are very much applauding you about that because you're stepping into new parts of service. And they're like, come on, just keep doing it. But here's what I'll tell you. Don't let anybody get in your ear about what they want it to kind of look like or sound like. Like, you know what you're doing. And your guides are very much helping you get there. You have a daughter as well, correct?
I have 3 girls.
Oh, 3 girls. Okay, so that's why the 3. One of them, this mother figure on the other side, watches a lot. She's highly intuitive. And so to me, you might see like a sensitivity in her that you might not quite understand, but just know she's just sensory. She's like me. So she's just sensory, and she's going to do very, very big things. And I feel like it's the younger of the older. She's maybe your middle. Okay. Mm-hmm. And she's just like, the way she knows what she wants and how she's going to do things in life, it will all come into fruition. It's definitely going to fall into place. Lovely family energies, both of you around you. And you could do this for yourself.
Yeah, but I never believe it.
I know.
That's the hard part. You know, when we're channeling for ourselves, that's the most challenging part. That's why I wrote the next book, because how do we get out of these spaces of doubt and fear and all of that? How can we lean on our universal team, our guides on the other side, to help us hear that higher voice? And when we can do that, you'll hear your loved ones, you'll hear your guides, and it all becomes intuitive, instinctual. That's the goal.
A lot of people are skeptical about this space.
Sure.
And communicating to the other side, it can be and feel odd even just to say it. What would you say to those who doubt this practice?
I don't really ever challenge a skeptic. The only thing I could suggest to a skeptic is that they find their own belief system, and however they feel like they're making that connection, I'm all for it. And if somebody else finds that speaking to a medium or getting into a spiritual practice in this type of genre or in this style suits them, then what you might not understand is okay, but maybe just honor it and respect it. That's really the best that I can do. It's not my job. My ego would want to convince somebody, but that's not really what Spirit asks of me. They just ask me to go do my job, basically.
For those who have ego, what was one of the most moving encounters you've ever had with a client?
I think on a whole, whenever I read somebody that has lost a child, those are sort of the most moving connections that I've made. And unfortunately, they've been frequent in my career. I can tell you the story of, and this always amazes me with Spirit. There was a local girl who lost her life, and a lot of people were asking me, "Oh, are you going to read the family? Are you going to read the family?" Yeah. And if the family wants to come to me, exactly. I am here. I'm not chasing anybody. And so I did feel the energy, though, of this girl coming to me. And I said to her, "I'm not going to call your mom. You're going to have her come to me. You're going to have her come to me." And I wound up doing a reading. This was years ago, and I would do readings in houses. And I went maybe like an hour from my house. And I sat with a group of women, and I didn't know any of them. None of them I recognized from town or anything. And there was that girl. She's standing there. And I was confused. I'm staring at this woman. And she said, "Just say it, MaryAnn." And I said, "Caitlin?" And she said, "Yes, I know who Caitlin is." That energy, that woman was friends with the mom. And that energy did that to me about 3 times until she got through to that mother, and that mother called me up and came to me. And it never ceases to amaze me how spirit can do that. I've been doing this a long time, and I am never bored at how miraculous spirit is. Our loved ones, if they want to get through, they will figure out a way. It's like 6 degrees of spiritual separation. I always say she wanted to get through. And I have seen that countless times, and it's incredible.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really, really cool. I have to say, I feel so honored
lucky.
to have that part of my job. And it's pretty miraculous. It's a very cool thing.
What are the biggest blocks to intuition that you see in people?
Oh, doubt, fear, ego, imposter syndrome, comparison, speaking from experience. They will block your intuition. Our minds are very loud. They're going to get in there and say, but I don't think that's true. If we could just get to work with our guides, they will help us understand why that's showing up. If you get a little curious, like, why am I so fearful? Why am I so doubtful? Where did it start? Who gave it to me in the first place? And you start to learn those parts of yourself. I do that with my guides. It's much easier to release it, and then it becomes a tool that you use in order to navigate through it better.
You talk about habitual check-ins. Can you explain what those are to our listeners and how someone can build that into their daily life?
Yeah, habitual check-ins, just like you're brushing your teeth every day, if you can do it on a regular and make it just part of your stacked schedule for the day, you will find that you will sharpen that muscle that we're talking about.
So give us an example.
An example would be if I wanted to check in with spirit every day, maybe I choose to journal for 5 minutes in the morning. And I make that journaling right after or during my cup of coffee in the morning. When you incorporate it into that, making it a habit for yourself, it just feels like your everyday practice, just like brushing your teeth or going to exercise, whatever it is. And when you get into those habits, again, it's all about strengthening those muscles. So if you can find something that feels, here's what I say to people. A lot of people go into their spiritual practice and they go hardcore. And then let's say for argument's sake, they get married, they start to have children, and or they take on a big job and their lives get really busy. And then all of a sudden that practice gets thrown out the window because they don't have the time. Then they feel like they're failing. I often hear the same thing over and over again. Oh, I was so good at it. Now I'm terrible at it. I don't do it anymore. And I always tell people, well, have you looked at your life recently? How can you make this a habit again that works for you? And how are you looking at your life? So if you took care of your 3 children for the entire week, are you saying, I was a caretaker this week? That's very spiritual. Are you making that part of your habit? I drove the kids around. I did some self-care this week. Yes, please, always. And so always look at what you're doing on a regular basis, and your perception should be, did that feel spiritual to me? That's not always about meditating and connecting with the higher source and all the things.
Signs.
Yes.
We want them.
Yes.
Desperately. Mm-hmm. How do we not overthink them?
The way I think about signs, first of all, I will tell you, the spirit loves to show off. So definitely, when it comes to your loved ones, ask them for the signs.
I do. Like, right. I got given a red cardinal keychain. It was terrible. Like, who gives someone a red cardinal keychain? But my mom lived a red cardinal. I'm from Kentucky. I don't know. I kept the keychain, whatever. And then I couldn't find it. This was like 6 months ago. And I go into a bag. There's that keychain. Mm-hmm. I'm like, how did this keychain get into this? There's no way possible.
When it's serendipitous like that, when you're like, I was just thinking about this, or I can't believe it, and here it is, or I was just needing her in this moment. Like I said, I think they love to show off. So ask them for unique signs. Ask them for...
Laura Lynn said that. But I'm like, I can't do like a pink panda and a whatever, but...
Laura teaches it very well. I love Laura. And so you want to give over those signs, make it very unique. When you're manifesting and you're asking for signs, so you're tuning into your guides, you want to ask for a sign, but you also want to set it and forget it. So let's say, for argument's sake, you are trying to manifest, you want a new job. and you're really thinking about this new job, you're getting very detailed in what you want, and you say, universe, please give me a sign. Is this the job for me? Should I take it? Maybe you get an opportunity, and you pick a peacock. Let's say, right? I often pick peacocks. And then you don't see that peacock. You have to kind of accept that the universe is like, maybe not your job, right? So we have to be aware of them saying, we're not going to give you that sign.
Especially to some of the younger girls that I mentor, it's like sometimes God's rejection is God's protection.
Oh, the biggest protection.
I was talking to a little girl in Philly the other day, and I'm like, do you know how many jobs I didn't get? Yeah. Like, you can't imagine how many times I can count on both hands the ones that have changed my life.
As we well know, Gabby says that all the time, Bernstein, right?
So
rejection is protection. And it is true. And I can think about when I wrote this book, I thought about all of this rejection, where my life took me, and how grateful I am for things that did not happen.
100%.
For when those signs didn't show up. And I was like,
especially like in relationships, when, it's like, oh my God, they're telling you who they are. They're showing you who they are. They're telling you they're depressed. They're angry. It's probably not the best person to marry, but somehow you're going to try to make it and willfully work.
Mm-hmm. And hindsight's the best way to know what your intuition, your psychic abilities are, because at some point, somewhere, that little voice went, they're a little negative. And you went, we'll love it out.
I just think sometimes we can push something and we can force things to happen that maybe shouldn't happen.
The flow is much better. I think that people always ask me, can you take the wrong road? Or what if you make a wrong decision? Can you learn from what that felt like initially? Can you say, I knew that I was forcing this. And then the next time that you feel that, you trust that first, and you say, I'm not going to do that again. I know what this feeling is, and I'm not going to go down this road again. If you can get ahead of it a little bit.
Because, everybody has patterns. Everybody has things that they,
Well, the patterns are your lessons. So if you start to see, like I've had like scarcity patterns.
What do you mean a scarcity pattern?
I was always worried about not having house and home, not having enough, having things being taken away from me, not having enough money, right? And this caused a lot of problems. Investing in others, like my ex-husband or my husband now, to kind of, aren't you gonna support us? Like that, putting a lot of pressure on them. And I realized that was on me.
Right.
And I finally understood that these patterns are lessons that we came here to learn. They're part of our soul contracts. And that if we can start to understand this repetitive behavior as something that we can learn from and work with our guides to understand it, will it always go away? No. But do we answer it in a more productive way? Yeah, totally. And then it's so empowering because we know it's just part of why we're here. And then it sort of gets to be a little bit like you can give yourself a little pat on the back when you see that growth.
You say that this book is like a spiritual road trip. How can we start mapping our own path with the spirit by our side?
Just get in the car and start the ignition and say yes. So when spirit said to me, we think you should start reading people, I said, okay, yes, I'll start doing that. I just started listening to them and saying, yes, write a book. Okay, I'm not a writer. Write a book.
Sometimes
Write
it's
it
easier
anyway.
to say yes than no.
Yeah, sometimes it is. And then, to your point, when it's a no, it's a no. So I think starting to hear that inner voice and just people always say, how can I get started on my spiritual journey? Start. Say yes to something that feels really good to you. And that's going to be the start of your beautiful trip if you choose to take the wheel yourself. Don't wait for somebody else to start the car for you. You have to do it.
Let's talk about energy.
Okay.
Energy means a lot to me.
Okay.
Within the people in my company, my family, my friends. And I don't know why, but you can ask her. It has always bothered me when I'm like, person has bad energy. And I don't know why it affects me so, like, to the point where, like, I can't be around it.
Let's talk about being empathic then. Because if you're we're all empathic. Every single one of us can feel energy. But when you're highly empathic,
People think I'm crazy. I'm not crazy.
I'm a
You're
good
not.
people reader. I can read people very, very well.
Yes. And I have been, I'll give you an example. I have had people, and I'm sure this happens to you, where everybody's like, no, they're such a great person.
yeah.
I'm like,
I hate
no,
that.
Oh God.
there's something there.
He's the one with the shittiest of energy. And I'm like, what is happening?
Well, that's a good question. What is happening? You
Yeah,
can ask, right? So it's sort of like intuitively, you can hear your guides, they might say to you, I always tell people if you work in the workplace and that one person that just walks in all the time, you're like, oh gosh, everything kind of shuts down. It's just, then it's all like the energy's just all terrible and shitty. You can always ask, is this me or is this them? That's because a lot of people think their mood completely changes then. Empathetically, you can hear too, maybe they're just having a really bad day. And they came in with that energy. And then you as a boss, as a partner, as a mom, I do this, with my own family members. I can't always match their energy or try and understand it. And what I might feel is like kind of shitty energy just might be them having a bad moment, or maybe they're in a depression, or maybe they have their grief. So as psychics, reading energy is very important.
I grew up an only child, older parents. So
She already knows all this. I'm just telling you.
She feels all of it.
She feels all of it.
But I used to observe people a lot. And so I would really I think now even I'll meet someone and I'm like, they suck. And I wait, and it could take years for someone to realize it. I hate that.
It
But I
has
end up being
taken
right.
years. And I've seen it where I've been the only one who has said, I'm telling you right now, that guy's a con artist.
Yeah.
And you're going to see it. And then, no, he's great. He's great. I'm telling you. That, it's like, what do you do with all of that?
You have to let them.
Right. You just have to let them do it. Exactly.
You have to let
really
them figure
do.
it out. And it's really hard, especially when you're around it and you're like, ugh.
And then you can even take it a step further where you're like, I've done it where if I really don't want to be around somebody because I think they're super negative, I just ask my guides, like, put a wall up, arm's length with love, may they go with love, but that's a no for me.
It's a no for
There's
me.
the boundaries. Yeah.
So here's a question I have, because I went through something a couple of years ago with my one daughter, and so much of it was like my gut instinct, my intuition. And I always said that it was my mother guiding me, right? It was very much that a lot of people say everything was fine. What happens in those situations, I think, and I have fallen prey to this, is you start to then, when you were right one time, right? Your instinct, all of it turned out that was the right path to take. I then sometimes second guess myself now. Am I right again? Or am I just worrying? Am I...
The difference between intuition and anxiety.
And it's very much, so it's become my intuition, my gut instinct, then I second guess.
As a parent, I had to learn, one of the best techniques I learned was to not join in the worry of my child or the fear that they may be experiencing or the anxiety or in the situation, right? And I was doing that. I was just joining in. And then my intuition was it was interfering with my clarity because I was reacting out of emotion all the time or fear for my child. And so what I had to learn to do was just treat it like I do a reading, where I started to only use my spiritual self. I felt my own calmness come in the way I would read somebody. And then I always ask, dear spirit, give me the words to serve. Give me something to serve in this moment. And how can I ask all of these parts that are getting in the way to just sort of step aside for a moment so that I can see with more clarity and understand the situation? If you just take a moment to do a little bit of breath, just calm yourself down, take away that negative chatter. What if I get it wrong? What if it doesn't come through? Just ask it to just be on hold for a minute. You will definitely feel it better. If you've done it once before, you know how it feels. Just lean back into that knowing and then proceed forward with whatever you need to do to help whoever it is or yourself. But you have to remember when it's people that we really care about and we really love, or even if it's for self, our emotions are very much into it. And you have to kind of, give yourself a break on that one.
Yeah.
And just say, and like to your point, what if it like really activates something in you? If it's like I had a lot of fear around one of my kids for a long time because of experiences that they had. And then I would just get activated all the time. And I had to learn to not let that lead.
Yeah.
And just sort of bring it back to a safer space.
A lot of women feel like, oh my God, I made a mistake, or he's not the right one, or I'm going to make him the right one. And they are like, I remember someone telling me something years ago. I'm like, well, what's meant to be is meant to be. And this therapist said to me, not really. That's just things you tell yourself to make you feel okay in the moment. But how do you kind of check in with yourself to be like, this is not good, or this is like, because a lot of people struggle. I struggled with it for a really long time.
Mm-hmm. I think that for a lot of years in my own life, and I could just tell you from my own experience, I told myself a lot of what I wanted to hear. And I told myself a lot of what that little girl in me wanted to hear as well. This is idealistic. This is the white picket fence. This is this. And I stayed in that dialogue for a very long time. But I always knew in the back of my mind, in my gut, this was before I was practicing as a psychic, but I can reflect on it now and see that knowing never lies. But I understand that behind all of that can be so much fear. Mm-hmm. And I didn't want to disappoint people, and I didn't want to disappoint my children and or myself. And so you have to find support in that, in those moments. If you have a great therapist, go to a good therapist. If you want to start your spiritual practice and meditation, do that. You have to use the tools, the worldly tools around you, because they're here for a reason. And our guides are trying to get us to utilize them to help ourselves.
Professional life.
Yes.
You're in a job. Mm-hmm. What if someone's receiving conflicting signs? Like you're called to do something or not to do something. Like, this is what I go through. I'm like, why did I start this? Or why did I do this? And then other days I'm really clear. And then other days I'm not clear at all. You know what I mean?
I do a spiritual to-do list. And I ask Spirit, what should I prioritize first? And then I give myself a 5-second rule. Whatever pops into my head is my start. And then I tell Spirit, because some of those things are very big picture items. And if you're a manifestor and you love big picture,
I'm big picture,
and you know what your story is, right? So things are being highlighted, write it down. Definitely don't let it go. Write it down. Put it in a journal, put it in a manifestation book, whatever works for you. Put it voice memo, whatever works for you. And then ask Spirit, where do I get started? What's the first thing that I can do? And then your job is to say yes when they show you the breadcrumbs. Because what I find so incredible about working my life this way is that they will show you exactly where you can take a step. And there might be several choices, but you want to go with what feels like a flow, not what feels like resistance. We certainly don't want to feel like we're skipping steps, because getting to destinations and not going through the directions and how to get there is kind of a waste, honestly. And so you want to go step by step. And when you do that, you'll always have that technique. It's a great technique.
Ooh, that's such a good...
Yeah, because I don't want to take away all those ideas. They're fantastic. But I want to see divine timing and how it's being given to me. And I realized that if I just put it out there and then came right back to the now, all that chaos goes away. And then I move into incredible spaces of trust and surrender. I'm like, well, that will be shown to me when I should write another book, or that will be shown to me. I can see myself doing talks or doing this, and I get really excited about the work. And then I bring it all right back down here and I say, okay, let's get started. Show me where to go.
I love that.
We do a little rapid fire here.
Okay, good.
Early bird or night owl?
Oh, early bird. I'm in bed by 8:30. I make no apologies.
Me neither.
Books or movies?
Movies that were books, I have to say. Do love that. But I think books overall.
If you could have a dinner with anyone, past or present, who would it be?
Oh boy, that's a good question.
I'm sure you have dinner with a lot of different people who've died.
I do. I can really pull up a good table. I would say it's a toss-up. I would say maybe Leonardo da Vinci. Yeah. Or Maya Angelou. Either one.
Most used app on your phone?
TikTok.
That's all right. Best piece of advice you ever received?
Let go and trust.
One thing you can't live without?
Oh, family.
What's on your bedside table?
On my bedside table is usually at night, usually a cup of tea, and probably a crystal of some sort.
I love crystals.
Yeah, me too. Something small, but I usually give them away. So they're always going, and a picture of my husband and children.
What's one hobby you'd like to pick up?
I'd love to play an instrument.
We always ask every guest before they go, if you could give advice to your 10-year-old self, what would it be?
I would say to her, definitely, without question, you are absolutely enough. And don't worry about what anybody thinks.
MaryAnn, thank you so much. Medium Mentor, 10 Powerful Techniques to Awaken Divine Guidance for Yourself and Others. You guys can get this now.
My first book was Believe, Ask, Act. It's my sweet little baby, my first baby. And the next book is called The Guides Book, Mapping Out Life's Journey with Spirit by Your Side.
Available now.
It's available now.
Yeah.
And you guys make sure and follow MaryAnn. It's MaryAnn with 2 N's, the Medium. MaryAnn the Medium. God, that's a great name. MaryAnn the Medium. Molly the Medium. Really appreciate everything. And thank you for,
Doing what you do.
Doing what you do,
Thank
because
you.
I'm sure it was not always easy.
It's hard coming out of the spiritual closet, but I kind of like it here now.
I love
Spiritual
it.
closet.
I love it. All right,
Thanks,
you guys.
guys.
We'll see you guys next week. Thanks for listening to Lipstick on the Rim with Molly Sims and my ride or die, Emese Gormley. We are so excited to bring you guys along on this journey with us. You can find us on Instagram and TikTok at Lipstick on the Rim and at Molly B. Sims. Or you can go to my blog where you can dive just a little bit deeper into my favorite products, trends, and more at mollysims.substack.com. And don't forget to check out our video episodes on my YouTube channel, Molly Sims. This podcast is a production with Sony Music. I wanted to give a special thanks to my team, Rosie Cummings, Kenna Ryan, Safine Kevorkian, and everyone at Sony Music. Don't forget to listen and follow wherever you get your podcasts so you never miss out on the fun.